I love Toy Story. Hey, what's up? Hope you're all staying safe. Nick Poulimenakos here, back with yet another fantastic YouTube video. And if you're like me, living in Toronto, you'll know that the province of Ontario is currently in a state of emergency and a stay-at-home order.
Everyone must stay home and only go out for essential trips.
So what does that mean? Well, I have a lot of time on my hands now, so I figured, why not channel this emotion and put it towards a video essay? I've recently been revisiting the Pixar movies, and I landed on Toy Story 2. And you know what? I love this movie. Wait, scratch that. I freaking adore this movie. No, wait, I got it. This is my favorite Disney and Pixar movie. It's been my favorite Disney and Pixar movie ever since my mom first showed it to me on VHS when I was 3 years old. But after watching this movie, I realized something. It's insane. Like, literally insane. Half the stuff here shouldn't work, yet it does. Nothing makes sense, but again, that just kinda adds to why I love this movie so much. The rules of this world don't add up, but it works for the story that the filmmakers are telling. The ending sequence is literally absurd, yet it's one of Pixar's finest moments of storytelling. I'm repeating myself here, but it just all works. So, for this week's video essay, let's dive deep into the insanity of Toy Story 2 by covering 3 specific aspects of that insanity: the film's production, the rules of this universe, and the final plane sequence. And just so we're clear, this video will have major spoilers for Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2. Allow me to set the stage. It's December 1995, and Disney is so pleased with the critical and commercial response to the first Toy Story film that talk of a sequel is already underway. But the studio decides to forego a theatrical release in favor of a direct-to-video release. So a sequel is officially greenlit, and Ash Brannon, a CalArts graduate and young directing animator who worked on the first Toy Story film, is handpicked by John Lasseter to direct the sequel. And with that, Toy Story 2 is officially underway. But here's where things begin to get dramatic. In February 1998, after some internal arguing, Disney decides that they would rather release Toy Story 2 theatrically. Fine. Unfortunately, early footage of Brandon's film had been met with negative reception from company execs.
We knew Toy Story 2 was having troubles. I don't think we realized how bad it was really going, and then we found out.
It just was not shaping up to be at the level that we thought it needed to be.
Now it's late 1998, and having just returned from doing promotional work on A Bug's Life, John Lasseter finally watches early reels of the sequel and agrees that the film is not working. Upon being asked by Steve Jobs and Pixar execs, Lasseter ends up replacing Brannon as director, and he recruits future Toy Story director Lee Unkrich as co-director. So now with Lasseter as director, Pixar is now forced to make an unthinkable decision: release a film that is nowhere near the level of quality that we've all come to expect, or start from scratch and try to make that November 1999 release date. In January 1999, the decision was made, and with 9 months until release, Pixar restarted production on Toy Story 2. Now you think that's insane? Don't worry, it actually gets better. During the course of a weekend in January, yes, one weekend, John Lasseter, Lee Unkrich, future Finding Nemo director Andrew Stanton, future Monsters Inc. director Pete Docter, and the late great Joe Ranft got together and fully fleshed out the story that we eventually saw on screen. In one freaking weekend, the entire story was redone. But wait, there's more. With production underway, Pixar employees pushed themselves harder than ever before. 1/3 of this team developed some type of repetitive stress injury due to the intensity of the work, while others got carpal tunnel syndrome. Apparently at one point, during a routine cleaning out of the file storage, an animator unintentionally hit a key command that erased all sets in Pixar's system, including 90% of Toy Story 2. In case that wasn't clear, almost all of Toy Story 2 was deleted from Pixar's file system. So how did they get themselves out of that problem? Well, I'll tell you. A supervising technical director by the name of Galen Sussman, God, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, had been working from home after the birth of her second child. On her computer was a backup of the entire film. And so, in the middle of the night, Pixar executives drove across California to her house to copy the file, and the film was restored. Things apparently got so stressful at Pixar that it caused one employee to forget their child in the backseat of their car for several hours. Luckily, the child was fine, but Pixar executives were so horrified at the work environment that they created that following Toy Story 2, the company vowed to never put their employees through something like this again. Now, in true David and Goliath fashion, Pixar overcame the odds and released Toy Story 2 in November 1999. And the film received critical acclaim, with critics saying that it surpassed the original in many ways. Now let's examine the film itself, starting with the insanity of the rules in this universe. You know what the best part about animated films is? The feeling that you can do anything. Due to Toy Story 2's wild production, the story is incredibly tight, with not a lot of time being dedicated to padding the narrative or explaining how anything works. Even the first Toy Story didn't really spend any time explaining how things work, but for me, I took two rules away from that story. Toys must not come to life in front of humans, and as a toy, you act like your real-life counterpart. In the case of Toy Story 2 though, things are taken to a new level of, you guessed it, insanity. Frankly, because aside from not coming alive in front of humans, it's a complete free-for-all in this film, and I love every single minute of it. So for this section of the video, I'm going to run down some of my favorite moments of this film that don't really make sense, yet work for the story that they're telling, and adds to the charm and brevity of Toy Story 2. During the events of the first film, while Buzz has an existential crisis over the fact that he's a toy, he tries to prove the naysayers wrong by attempting to fly. Of course, he fails and immediately falls from the top of the stairs. When he hits the ground though, he becomes sad, realizing that he can't fly. But he also lost his arm. I saw this moment and thought, I guess because they're toys, they don't feel pain like a human would. I bring this up because in Toy Story 2, they play fast and loose with this notion. The movie implies that if a toy is damaged when they're not alive, they feel nothing, such as when Woody's arm is ripped near the beginning of the film. When they're alive though, they do seem to feel aches and pains, I guess, exhibited by Mr. Potato Head saying his parts are killing him after walking for miles, and Woody yelling in pain after being put in a submission hold by Jessie. Near the end of Toy Story 2 is when things get a bit complicated in regards to this whole pain thing. During the sequence in the baggage handling system, Stinky Pete cuts Woody's arm, resulting in Woody letting out a mild scream. Immediately though, it would seem as though his pain has dissipated, and Woody is overall fine. What makes this moment even more confusing is the fact that Woody still has function in that arm. At the beginning of the movie, when Woody's arm is torn by Andy, a point of comedy is the fact that he can't use his arm. But as he chases the baggage car carrying Jessie, he has full function. Does the size of the cut matter? Is it where exactly his arm is cut that matters? Does any of this matter? No, because when Woody and Buzz ride Bullseye to rescue Jessie, it's so much fun, and scored beautifully by Randy Newman. Another rule that this film breaks from the first film revolves around toys acting like their real-life counterparts. One of my favorite new additions to this universe was Bullseye. While Bullseye runs and sounds like a horse, he very clearly exhibits the traits of a dog. Contrary to how Buzz acted like a space ranger, Woody walks and talks like a cowboy, or even how Sarge maintains his army persona, Bullseye is somehow able to overcome this notion and somehow deliberately carries himself like a dog. The way he's always by Woody's side, the way he licks Al's fingers like any puppy would, or how he pouts like any dog would when their owner is upset. Personally, I was always under the assumption that this was done for creative reasons, like as a comedic choice, because Bullseye has some of the funniest moments in the film, especially when he's trying to quietly make his way through the Cheeto-ridden floor of Al's apartment.
Am I really that fat?
There's a lot to be said about the entirety of the Al's Toy Barn scenes, but the one that always stuck out to me is this one.
The golden scepter was the only...
Yeah, I thought we could search in style.
Nice going there, Ham. So how about letting a toy with fingers dry?
Did you see that? Toys apparently know how to drive in this universe. How would they even come across such knowledge? Would Andy have shown them while playing? Do adult-age toys somehow come preloaded with this kind of knowledge? I have so many questions. But it's obvious why this scene is present because it gives credence to how the toys are able to drive the Pizza Planet truck later on in the movie. And isn't that just great on its own? Toys. Toys somehow drive a truck to the airport. Ham comments on mileage, Buzz knows how to work the steering wheel, Potato Head is rescuing aliens from flying out of the car. It's perfect. I can't even complain about it. Who would complain about this stuff? Okay, I'm sure you're asking why am I bringing all this up? After all, it would seem like I'm sounding like that dusty CinemaSins channel and nitpicking at every creative decision the filmmakers made. Well, because unlike CinemaSins, this section of my video isn't meant to trash the filmmakers, but embrace their creativity and willingness to do whatever they want. Sure, a lot of this movie could be nitpicked, but what's fun about that? The notion that rules are broken and story beats play out without much explanation is exactly why this movie works. The filmmakers weren't worried about what a toy feels. They just feel. They weren't worried about how a toy should act. They act however they want, hence Bullseye deciding to be more like a dog than a horse. Despite being such a tightly written story, Toy Story 2 is even more free-flowing than the last. Woody loses use of his arm in the beginning of the movie, and somehow with the same injury, has full access near the end of the film. I love that rules don't matter. It's funny to see Woody struggle to whistle with his limp arm, and it's enthralling to watch him ride alongside Buzz on Bullseye during Jesse's rescue. Speaking of which... Alright, big hot take coming up. Get ready. You are not ready for this hot take. Toy Story 2's third act is by far my favorite in any Pixar film. I know, shocking based on what you've heard throughout this whole video. From the moment Al leaves his condo with Woody's Roundup gang, I don't think I've ever had so much fun with an animated movie before. These scenes in particular is where Pixar really asks to suspend our disbelief, turn our brains off, and just have fun. We start with Woody and Buzz, who are riding Bullseye to catch up with Jesse and the cart. For the first time in the movie, Bullseye finally acts like a horse and rides like the wind, managing to catch up with a cart. Let me say that again. A toy horse is able to catch up with a gas-powered vehicle. Is that possible? It doesn't matter. Bullseye was the fastest horse in Woody's Roundup, so it makes sense that this translates into the real world. Once Bullseye catches up with the cart, Woody Superman jumps his way across the cart and into the plane. He reunites with Jesse, but before they can escape, the plane doors close. I can tell you that as a kid, this stressed the ever-living hell out of me. How would they escape the plane? What would Andy do if the toys weren't there? Would my mom be mad at me if I asked her to watch this movie for the zillionth time? Hey everyone, apologies for interrupting the video. I have been informed that I need to let you all know that my mom, no matter how much I asked to watch Toy Story 2, never got mad. She wanted me to let all 100 people who are going to watch this video know that. Alright, back to the video. Now Woody and Jesse somehow manage to get a small hatch open and drop onto one of the wheels. Watching this as an adult, I became pretty confused as to how the wind didn't just blow the toys right off the plane. I mean, I'm not good at science, and I know the aircraft isn't moving fast at first, but Woody and Jesse are still on the plane as it starts to take off and starts to increase to its takeoff speed. They should have realistically flown right off the wheel, right? But I guess that's not good for a dramatic effect. Instead, we're teased with them falling off the wheel as Woody loses his hat and his arm begins to rip again. Thankfully, Buzz and Bullseye are running alongside the plane to rescue Woody and Jesse. See, I sort of understood that Bullseye could keep up with the baggage cart since that's clearly not moving that fast, but this horse manages to keep up with a plane that is literally about to take off. Now as Woody and Jesse descend towards the wheel, Woody has the idea to hook his string around the plane and swing the pair down to Bullseye. Thankfully, he succeeds, and the pair retreats to safety. But then you think to yourself, wait, aren't all the toys at the airport? How are they going to get back to Andy? Well, that question is answered immediately. When Andy returns home from cowboy camp and he sees the toys on his bed, the camera pans above Andy's window and the baggage cart is somehow outside Andy's home. These toys stole this baggage cart without anyone noticing, drove it 20 or more blocks, and got it back to Andy. I can't even begin to describe how that would be possible without anyone knowing, but the thought that they pulled it off is so freaking cool. Did they drive it only on side streets? Were they on any major highways at any point? Was anyone scared at the fact that there was no visible human driving this cart? I mean, who cares? The toys are home, and it leads to one of the film's most heartfelt moments. Jessie finally feeling like she's part of a family again.
You still worried?
About Andy? Nah, it'll be fun while it lasts.
I'm proud of you, cowboy.
Besides, when it all ends, I'll have old Buzz Lightyear to keep me company. For infinity and beyond.
Toy Story 2 shouldn't work. It shouldn't be as good as it is, yet it's not only as good as the first, but it's better in every way. And it was made in 9 whole months. The pressure of meeting that November 1999 release date forced the filmmakers to forego exposition, fluff, and world building in favor of simply showcasing superbly fleshed out characters and just letting the jokes play out without much care for continuity. Toys can smell, they can sometimes feel pain, drive cars, run as fast as planes on a ground, and experience PTSD. With all of these aspects, you'd expect the writers to give you an explanation to how or why these things happen. But they don't. It allows us to enjoy what's happening without questioning every little detail. Now, truth be told, I honestly just scratched the surface on everything that I love about this movie, and I'll probably revisit it down the line to discuss Woody's character arc. For now, I leave you with the sheer insanity that this film brought to the Toy Story franchise. Hey everyone, I just wanted to thank you all for watching my videos. This one was a ton of fun to make, and I got a lot more videos in the works for this year. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Nick Poulimenakos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, guys.